Welcome and thanks for joining me as I talk about the Pisces new moon happening March 2nd, 2022. Now, before I begin, if you'd like a birth chart reading from me, the link is in the description box below. My name is Evan, the founder and lead analyst of Inner Worlds Astrology. Now, this new moon is happening at 12 degrees of Pisces, so step one, I really want you to look at where that is in your chart. So look up 12 degrees of Pisces, especially what house that falls in. That's going to be the area of life where you're going to want to set new intentions, start anew, a fresh beginning. Especially in this Pisces energy, it's going to be coming from a place of inspiration. So think about what is really inspiring you at this time, whether that comes from a creative place or a spiritual place. That's up to you. But that's where we want to begin. And Pisces, if I could summarize Pisces in one word, it would be open. Pisces is open to feelings, dreams. Pisces is open to inspiration. Pisces is open to merging energies. Pisces is open to change. It's a mutable sign, so there's going to be an adaptability to this. But Pisces is also about the collective emotions. So Cancer, the first water sign, is more about personal emotions. Scorpio is sort of emotions that you might feel intensely between you and another person or within your own psyche. But Pisces really expands this emotion to include global, cosmic energies. And so there's a limitless potential to this new moon. And, when we talk about water signs, we talk about emotion, sensitivity, energetic merging, intuition. And, water can be intense for people. If you have a water heavy chart, you can feel things, you can be very sensitive, but at the same time, water allows for transformation. That's really the beauty of water. It's flowing, it's fluid. It can seep through the earth elements that are supposed to be practical. Water can really affect all of the other elements. So it's very powerful. And when we're thinking about Pisces, we're talking about egoless behavior. Pisces is about the removal of the ego. And when you lower the ego, you let in all sorts of energies again. You can feel enlightened. You can feel the need even to escape. And that's really up to you. But, even beyond that, we're pushing into an area of compassion, dreams, creativity, spirituality. Now, on the shadow side or the downside of Pisces, we're talking about a lack of assertion. It's not like Aries at all, right? The next zodiac sign, which is the first in the wheel. We're actually talking about the last zodiac sign here. So in some ways, people might not feel assertive. Again, they're more open. They're open. This is a different kind of energy. Pisces is also about dissolution and endings. It's also kind of open-minded, but in a way that can create confusion. So, again, be open at this time to new ideas, inspiration, but at the same time, exercise boundaries and compartmentalize things. And there are some energies in the sky that will support that, which I'll talk about. So, we might not be able to focus as easily. We might have one foot in reality, one foot somewhere else. During a Pisces new moon, especially conjunct to Jupiter and Neptune, that's okay. Now, Neptune actually rules this new moon. So Neptune is actually also in Pisces, in its home sign. And this is amplifying our emotions and sparking our interest in the non-material world, in potentially spirituality. Now, this energy of the new moon is very inspirational because it conjuncts with Jupiter, which is about expansion. And, at the same time, though, we want to be mindful again, of not becoming too ungrounded at this time. We have the North Node in Taurus, which is actually about stability on a material plane. We have a Mercury-Saturn conjunction, which brings in pragmatism to our mindset. So, again, this new moon might be a little disorienting here, where there is that urge to go higher, but also that urge to stay grounded. So we'll talk about how to kind of merge those. Now, in the skies at this time, we're pretty heavy in earth and water, which are both feminine energies. They're passive and receptive. There's really no fire in the sky right now, apart from Chiron and Aries. So we're kind of more reflective at this time, less about action. But we have a little bit of that pragmatism and also maybe idea sharing with Mercury and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius. And so this new moon feels like there's actually a connection between the spiritual side of Pisces and a little bit more about the facts with Aquarius. So is this a new moon where spiritual inspiration or spiritual realization will actually help us shed light on more objective fields of knowledge? This could almost be like a mini renaissance. So I think that's powerful. Another sort of meta theme to the skies right now is that we're dealing mostly with transpersonal signs. So Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces really make up the bulk of these placements right now. And, the transpersonal planets are very close to the personal planets. So this really means that this new moon impacts all of us even more so than usual on a global level. Now, one of the other key aspects, again, this new moon is only 2 degrees away from Jupiter, which is also in Pisces. Now, Jupiter is about the expansion in Pisces of spirituality, wisdom, intuition. In general, when Jupiter is close to the sun and moon, it actually brings in also optimism and confidence. So we're confident right now that we can have faith to take the leap into a higher place. So I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are already fairly spiritually minded. But, in this time period, you can actually go further. You can take your spirituality further. And if you're someone who's totally new to this whole thing, like, what is astrology? Then even now, this is actually about a new beginning for you into that zone. Because Jupiter is going to bring in a little bit of, again, confidence to take a leap of faith, a step there. And with Jupiter, it's also about the larger patterns in the world. So what's the big picture that we're anchoring to? What is our purpose? Have we been focusing on the wrong things lately? That would become clear to us at this time, actually. And specifically, what's a feeling we can all share in? Again, Pisces is the collective. It's not individual at all. So what happens when we reduce the ego? When we push that aside and we start to come together? Is there a truth that we can all share in? And again, with Jupiter, it can even be about epiphanies. So that makes sense. Now, keep in mind that we're ramping up to this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in April. So this is really a crescendo, starting with this new moon. And at that time, that is just going to be this intense emergence of dreams, inspiration, and spirituality. Collective sensations will definitely come up there. There's a feeling here that the material world is not enough. We're starting to feel that at this time. And again, feeling like we have a higher calling or purpose. Now, it's significant that Jupiter and Neptune are both in Pisces at the same time. This hasn't happened for, I believe, over 160 years. So we're talking about a very long, none of us have experienced that. So that's pretty exciting and pretty special. So we obviously always have, every year, moments of Piscean energy in the sky. But this creates a mark of maybe even a transcendental moment. So how do you want to transcend the material plane right now? But the key here is not to take that too far and be led astray. And the good news is that we have a Mercury-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. Now, Mercury is the mindset, and Saturn is about discipline, pragmatism. It's about realism. And in Aquarius, we're talking about objective ideas here. It's a little detached. Now, when Saturn is conjunct to our mindset with Mercury there, we can actually be a little bit overcautious, over-realistic, even pessimistic. And this comes from a sense of responsibility, like we have a burden to carry, a sense of tradition to uphold, like we have something on our shoulders here. And Saturn even kind of slows things down sometimes. Even though Aquarius does speed things up a little bit, Saturn is still holding us back and saying, wait. Do we really want to go down this path? And so I think all of us are going to be facing this pull to go to a higher place with Pisces, but to hold on to some tradition. And so how can we integrate the spiritual into the material with Saturn there? How can we, play by a little bit of the rules here, or again, go with the status quo a little bit, but, flavor it with a little bit more sensitivity here. On the good side, Saturn allows for long-term planning. So in some ways, with Jupiter, it could complement that. You're thinking about a higher purpose along a larger pattern of the universe. And with Saturn and Mercury, it's like, okay, but how can I translate that to my career? How can I translate that to, earning an income? How can I build a foundation with Saturn there over time? But what I like about Aquarius is this is about groups. So we might be able to share in these epiphanies in groups. We might be able to share this information online with Aquarius. Or, Saturn and Aquarius with Mercury there can restrict movement a little bit. Or we can just feel like we're a little bit boxed in. And so for some, Pisces could be a refuge to go somewhere else in the mind, to dream up, okay, how can I resolve a little bit of this, feeling of stagnation? How can I overcome the stagnation? So, and by the way, with Saturn, it's voices of authority that we inherit from other people early on in our lives. And so with Saturn, it's that we don't always want to pay attention to that voice that says hold back or be cautious, because that voice isn't our own. Like if you think about someone that's maybe not feeling happy, they have a strong Saturn conjunction with their Mercury at the time, they're just kind of feeling a little down. They have to trace those roots back of like, who made me feel like I couldn't be happy? Oftentimes it's just someone else just made us, we just ingrained it in our subconscious mind. And then once we separate ourselves from that, we can inherit the more positive sides of Saturn, again, which is just about owning our own internal discipline, our own internal sense of practicality, but not letting it go too far. So I think that's really important in general to keep in mind right now. That Saturn voice is not always your voice. So figure out your authentic inner authority there. Now, to kind of switch over to Capricorn, we have a couple things going on. Number one, we have a Mars-Pluto conjunction at 27 Capricorn, which is the degree where the U.S.-Pluto return is happening. Now, with Mars-Pluto, we're really determined right now. There's a lot of motivation. It's almost all or nothing, because Pluto is associated with Scorpio, so is Mars. So we're talking about really a sign of, these are extreme energies, actually. We're almost magnetically drawn to things here. Things in the shadows, secrets, and so the caution here is not to fall into obsessions, to use this as positive fuel for determination to get things done, but not to be fixated, because on the positive side, Pluto is about transformation. So for some people, they could be sort of leveling up. And we have the strength to do this. Mars-Pluto brings us a lot of strength and determination again. And so with Pluto and Capricorn, we're dealing, though, sometimes with secrets, coming out about like how institutions operate, or secrets related to, government. So that could play a role here. There's just this unearthing of secrets. But I think on a personal level, this is determination with Capricorn to build a legacy, to think about what is my foundation, what is my long-term plan. And then let's bring in Venus. So Venus is conjunct to these planets also. Venus is about love and harmony, but when it's conjunct to these planets, it's really about transformation again. Transformation in relationships, in value systems with which Venus also rules. It's necessary transformation. Pluto is not positive or negative. It's just the transformation that you've been avoiding maybe for a long time that finally has to happen. And it can be very cathartic in the process. And with Mars and Venus, by the way, let's break those down. This is about the masculine and the feminine. So we're understanding our masculine and feminine sides internally here. And with Pluto, it comes from a deep place. It's in the subconscious. So we could have a more holistic or complete sense of self here. So that complete sense of self allows for that transformation to take place because of that awareness of all sides of ourselves. And, when I see Mars and Venus also conjunct like this, it could even be financial, because Venus also does rule things like money. So financial contracts could play a big role at this time. Even to a certain extent, social contracts. Because in a lot of ways, Venus is about, sociability and getting along, maintaining a balance in the world, fairness. And so could there even be sort of constitutional elements in certain countries? Because Capricorn is about governments. So are we talking about new types of rules or social contracts? And with Saturn conjunct Mercury, we're focused on the rules, actually. We're focused on what is, what is correct, what abides by the rules, what is, again, status quo. Now, what's also interesting is the last few full moons have been at the 27th degree of various signs. So that conjunction between Mars, Venus, Pluto, at that 27th degree carries a little bit of extra meaning. And the 27th degree is a Gemini degree. So we're really talking about, a split potentially in the direction that certain people want to go with these social contracts. And, if I'm thinking about the Mars-Venus masculine feminine energy, it could also be actually about, female empowerment. So a female leader stepping into a new role at this time, and taking more power and ascending to a new position. And this could happen at the level of a government, if we're talking about Capricorn, or even a business. So, announcements about, new leadership roles, that women are taking, like that could definitely happen too. And these energies are somewhat connected to Pisces here. They're harmonious. We're talking about earth and water here. So with Capricorn, it's really, again, transformation at a sort of larger level here of like maybe an institution, but to some degree, these transformations on a personal level can come from that spiritual place with Pisces, and at that sort of institutional level, Pisces is about endings. So we might at that institutional level we might see the end of something and the transformation into something else. Now, those planets, Mars and Venus, have a connection to the nodes, as do Pluto. So the north node is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, and the south node is in Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars and Pluto. And both of these signs, Taurus and Scorpio, are about finance and survival. So with Taurus, how do we define stability here when we blend in this Piscean bliss and spirituality? So materials might not be sufficient anymore. We might feel pulled to something that's more abstract. We might have a very open-minded energy. We're open to seeing the bigger picture. And again, this is that ramp up to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in April. Now, I didn't really mention Uranus. That planet is not playing as big of a role as it was at the end of last year. It's going to come back into a square with Saturn, pretty close to it later on in the year. But that planet is it's just moving forward. But that's another thing I want to mention, though, is that all the planets right now are direct. They're moving forward. So, I kind of want to finish with this thought of things are happening really quickly right now. I've received a lot of messages from people about why do I feel so different each day? Why do I feel like I'm just constantly riding, different waves here? And just know that that's happening because of this. These planets are just direct right now. They used to be, we had Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and by this new moon, Venus is going to be out of its shadow. So there's a lot of forward momentum, and that's happening now too, even at right now as I'm filming this. And so it's okay to feel like you're in a bit of a whirlwind right now, like there's sort of this like rogue wave at all times, like you feel like you're kind of having to ride this rogue wave. But it's better, especially with Pisces, to go with the flow. And it's better to ride that wave rather than, fall under it, right? So this is actually with Pisces about surrender. You really right now have to surrender to this idea of control. Be almost excited by change and the unknown. Be excited by the growth opportunities that come from that, the evolutionary potential of all of that. And we really have to roll with these direct planets until later in April, past that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. So the less you hold on right now, the more growth you're going to experience. And that's going to make this Pisces new moon a little bit easier because, again, Pisces is open. It's not a closed energy. It's not closed off. It's lowering the ego to let things in, to let in other frequencies, collective frequencies. And so don't resist that. Right, starting now, leading up to the new moon, open yourself to possibilities. Open yourself to spiritual possibilities, insights, and even just creativity. Even your dreams right now could be a source of inspiration at night. Maybe write down your dreams. Think about that. And to me, a lot of this energy is, again, a crescendo to that Neptune-Jupiter conjunction in April, which is just going to be this massive awakening. But also, it's a lead up to that Pisces new moon with the Mars, Venus, Pluto conjunction. That's about deep transformation. And the only way that you're going to be able to harness that is if you're open, if your sort of antennas are tuned in to the collective. Because we don't have a lot of personal signs right now. We don't have a lot of isolated personal planets. Everything is in the mix, in the soup. We're kind of in a soup. And, Pisces is about the ocean. So I think that's kind of an apt metaphor. So, just accept that there is a common ocean that all these rivers are flowing to right now. And that we can't do this alone. And so as you're feeling this change, this rapid momentum, this rapid movement, where you're feeling different at different times, share that knowledge with other people. We have this Aquarius energy right now. So we can have these conversations and come to a collective realization that something is changing, that there are higher frequencies that we can ascend to, that the third eye energy is maybe more powerful now for people. So that's all going to give you this positive momentum leading into Aries season. Because eventually this year, Mars is going to get into Aries, Jupiter is going to be in Aries, and many years down the line, not too many, but some years down the line, Neptune is eventually going to get into Aries. So in a larger time frame, we're actually leading up to a new form of spirituality, a new form of inspiration, and then in this year later we're going to have some Aries sort of action and drive. And so this is sort of our ending point of the astrological year with Pisces, to really do that final reflecting before we take that sort of Aries approach to things, before we just jump into things, because that's what fire is. So right now we don't really have a lot of fire, so it's okay to sit back, feel the emotions that keep coming in, and eventually realize that I am not ultimately the one experiencing the emotions. I'm somewhere above that. And that's really also where this can go for you, is realizing that I am not the sufferer. I am not the doer. In a lot of ancient teachings, that's the lesson. And so with Pisces, even the question of who am I and what is the I? What is the concept of the I if we're all in this ocean together? That's up for debate. And so kind of embrace that, because there's a little bit of a solace in that collective sensation of I am not the only one. I am not the only one going through this. But just as a final kind of bow tie to that, with Pisces, there is a tendency to feel like we're suffering, to feel like that suffering is somehow salvation for people. But I want you to not necessarily give into that. I want you to think about, again, feeling that collective emotion, but transmuting that into a very positive sort of emotional experience. A source of dreams, that we're all kind of dreaming big right now. So if you can do all of that while still channeling a little bit of pragmatism with Mercury Saturn, I think this is going to be a great new moon for you. So thank you again for tuning in. I'm going to be doing every full new moon every 2 weeks, so stay tuned. Please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And again, if you'd like a reading, the link is in the description box. And thank you so much.